In episode 8, Leighton has put the wheels in motion to get the revolution started. And it all kicks off with LJ getting signaled from her car from Miles, who's in the front of the train now, to come over and see for herself that there really is no Mr. Wilfred. And she does. She is blown away by the fact that Mr. Wilfred is a myth. And as Miles is showing her Melanie's empty cabin, she ends up taking one of the pictures of Melanie and her baby daughter for later. When LJ gets back to her room, she flashes some lights signaling that she did in fact make it to the front of the train, and that message gets relayed to Leighton, who is in the night car holding a strategic meeting about the next day's plans. And in this meeting, you've got Miss Audrey, but you also have Till. And in this meeting, Leighton lays out his entire plan, saying that if all goes well, they'll meet the jackboots mid-train, and that way they'll be able to fight them on their terms. After the meeting, Till goes and talks to Jinju and says, I can't tell you why, but you gotta stay out of third class today. And Jinju wants to know why Till lied to her about helping Leighton. But Till wants to know why she told her to stay clear of Melanie Cavill. And Jinju says it's because you're messing with stuff you don't understand. And that's when Till realizes that she knew about Leighton the entire time. She knew he was put in the drawers. And Till says, you were protecting her. And Jinju says, no, I was protecting you. Please don't make me choose between you and the train. But Till doesn't give her an answer and says, just stay in here today. Don't leave. The next day, armed with LJ's information, her parents, along with Commander Gray, call a meeting with Ruth. And they tell Ruth that they have inside info that there is no Mr. Wilfred. He's not even on the train. And Ruth doesn't believe that because she has no reason to. She met Mr. Wilfred once. That was enough for her, but she thinks this is ridiculous. But the Folgers let this information out, and it's causing a commotion in first class. They radio to Melanie to head there and deal with the issue. Now, Melanie was at the front of the train teaching Miles all about the train, how if the train stops, everybody dies, that sort of thing. So when she gets called to first class and sees all the people, she gets a little concerned. She gets even more concerned when Ruth tells her that the issue is they think there's no Mr. Wilfred, and they want to see him in person. Melanie tries to pull the same trick as last time. All right, well, I'll call him up. You can talk to him yourself, but that isn't going to work. They need to see him in the flesh, and that's an issue. They tell Melanie that they have inside info that there is no Mr. Wilfred. And she says, well, who's the inside information? And that's when LJ gleefully puts up her hand, happy to reveal that she is the person who revealed the deep, dark secret. Melanie tries to discredit her because LJ is a murderer, and a few of the first-class passengers agree with Melanie. And this causes a bit of a commotion between the first-class passengers, but LJ says, no, look, I have proof. I was in her cabin, and I even grabbed a picture of her dead kid. And when Melanie sees that LJ did in fact grab that picture, she goes after her, but she's held back by a few of the jackboots. But that tiny commotion that was caused when people started questioning LJ's credibility has blown up into a big way. And all the bodyguards are now going after each other and have to be held back by the jackboots. So that's when Commander Gray gives the order to get every one of the jackboots up train because they need them as security. Melanie tells him, you can't do that. We need those people down train, but he says, I'm done taking orders from you. He then orders everybody into their cabins and Melanie Cavill to be arrested. Ruth tells Gray, what if you're wrong about this? What if we go to the engine and Wilfred is there? And Gray says, well, we need to see for ourselves, so let's head up to that engine. And up at the engine, Melanie has been able to signal to them to shut down the engine, and that's a huge deal. And when she's able to trigger that alarm, Javi and Bennett immediately go into a frenzy, not knowing why she's doing that. Miles wants to know why would they shut down the engine ever, and Javi snaps at him saying, I don't know, you've been here 2 days, you tell us. They then start hearing a clamoring outside of the door, and when Javi goes to look, he sees Commander Gray along with Ruth and a couple of jackboots and knows that there's a problem. And he wants to open the doors and just tell them the truth. There is no Mr. Wilfred. But Bennett yells at him that we can't do that. But instead of following Bennett's order to keep them out, Javi opens up one of the doors. And Bennett cannot believe that he just did that, still clinging to hope that he can keep this lie about Mr. Wilfred going. He ends up punching Javi and locking him out of the actual engine room. So when Commander Gray and Ruth and the jackboots find Javi, they start immediately questioning him, and he comes clean. Mr. Wilfred's dead. He's been dead for a while. But Javi says he had nothing to do with it. And it's true. Ruth goes into the living quarters of Melanie and sees that there is no Mr. Wilfred, and she cannot believe that she was fooled. She can't believe she's been lied to this entire time and can't believe that she's been such a fool not to see this before. And all she can think about is that Melanie needs to pay for what she did. Now, Commander Gray probably should have listened to Melanie when she said you can't draw all of the jackboots up train, because that was all a part of Leighton's plan. He's been able to get word to the tail that the uprising is going to happen today and to prepare for it. He then gets escorted by Till back to the tail, where Till does have to take out one of her fellow brakemen in the process. But when the doors open in the tail, they're all ready to go to war. But that anger quickly subsides when they see that it's Leighton. They're just so happy to see him, but then they start wondering, why is Till here? And Leighton lets them know that Till is now one of them, and he even hands her a red armband that signifies to the tail that she's one of them. And then he gives an impassioned, riled up speech to everybody who can hear it that it's no longer one tail, it's one train. And today, they make it to the front. Now, another part of Layton's plan has been to sneak a couple of Tailies out and disguise them. A few of them are disguised as jackboots, and they're going to head to the drawers to wake up the Tailies that were put in there from the last revolt. Another one is disguised as an electrician, and they're going to cut the phone lines. But after they do that, Osweiler ends up noticing that the electrician seems fidgety, and then he notices that the other one is a Tailie. And because the phone lines have been cut, he makes one of the other brakemen run up train to let Commander Gray know. So as Commander Gray and Ruth and the Folgers are trying to figure out what to do about the whole Wilford situation, in comes this brakeman who tells Commander Gray that the Tailies have made it out of the tail and are moving up train. And Commander Gray knows that they've been squabbling about Mr. Wilford's situation, distracted the entire time. This is no coincidence. So he needs to get down train as quickly as possible, and he feels like the easiest way to do that is to use the tunnels under the train. So when Commander Gray leaves to go deal with the tail situation, Ruth wants some answers from Melanie. She feels betrayed and just wants to hear the truth. And the truth is that Mr. Wilford was nothing more than a guy used to sell tickets. He never believed in saving humanity at all. He believed in getting the easiest life for him with whores from the night car and a lot of booze, and that's it. And it was actually Melanie who built the train, not Mr. Wilford. So if they had actually left it into Mr. Wilford's hands, they wouldn't have made it one revolution, and Melanie knew that. So she left him on the platform and decided to take the train over. Melanie assures her that the friendship that they had was real and apologizes for lying to her. And Ruth takes this all in and tells her that you're a filthy liar and a murderer, and tomorrow you're going to be executed for what you did, for betraying Snowpiercer. And then she leaves. At this point, back in the tail, though, Layton, Till, and the rest of the Tailies have made it to third class, where Roach and the brakemen are waiting for them. Now, Layton doesn't want to go to war with the brakemen, so him and Till end up going up and trying to see if they can reason with Roach. And Roach tells him that this crap that they're spewing about there being no Mr. Wilford is ridiculous and no one's going to buy it. And Layton tells him, along with the rest of the third-class passengers who are watching all this go down, that it is true. There is no Mr. Wilford. And first class just found out about it now, and it's only a matter of time before third class finds out about it. And because there is no Mr. Wilford, someone's going to have to run this train. And since third class and the tail already kind of make this train go to begin with, it might as well be one of them. So let's work together instead of going to war now. They beg Roach to move over and just let them pass through. And it seems like they talk a lot of sense into Roach because he gives the order to stand down and they let the Tailies move on through. The jackboots, though, are on their way in the tunnels, but Layton's already thought of that. And he sent a couple of Tailies down along with this catapult-like weapon to take them out. And boy, does that ever work. Because Commander Gray, seeing that it's going to be tough to just bully their way through it, leaves half of his soldiers in the tunnels, but the other half he takes upstairs to just catch them head on that way. And they end up meeting in the night car, where Layton's plan has worked. They've drawn in all of the jackboots along with Commander Gray and kind of trapped them there, where they have the element of surprise. And in the night car, a bloody, vicious battle goes down. I mean, both sides are suffering casualties left and right, but it seems like Layton's crew ends up getting the best of Gray's, because Gray gives the order to retreat. Shortly after Commander Gray's troops leave, Layton, along with the rest of the third-class members and the Tailies, are just looking at all the casualties go down, tending to the injured, when some of the jackboots come back and throw a bunch of smoke bombs down in the night car and forces Layton and his crew to go to the third-class cafeteria. As Commander Gray is walking back up to first class to regroup, he passes by the room with the drawers. And Layton's guys, who are dressed as jackboots, have been able to wake up two of the members, one of whom is that ridiculously big, strong guy that didn't talk. And when he woke up from the drawers, he was speaking Mandarin, to which the doctor said, "Does he speak Mandarin?" And the Tailies said, "Dude, he doesn't speak at all." But with the fighting going on, they were waiting for some reinforcements from the tail that never showed up. And the doctor says, "Where are your people?" And the Tailies says, "I have no idea." The doctor, getting nervous, says, "We should just leave now, come back for the sleepers later." But the Tailies says, "No, we're not doing that." And then he goes over to wake up the last person from the last revolt, and that's Pike. But when they open the drawer, Pike is gone, to everybody's shock. And the Tailies are looking at the doctor for some answers. Now, Pike has been woken up by Commander Gray and the rest of the first-class passengers to get some answers and info on Layton. And Pike, who never really got along with Layton in the first place, is happy to give it because he's getting all the amenities of first class at the moment. And he tells him that Layton is a good cop, but he doesn't have the stomach for sustained cruelty. So if you keep grinding on him, he's going to crumble. And you can kind of see that in the third-class dining car as Layton is looking over all of the casualties and the injured. And he feels really uncomfortable because he lost a ton of people that day, a lot of whom were his friends. And you can see the doubt start creeping in his mind of if he made the right decision by lighting this match on the Revolution. Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.